What's happening, Hardscapers? We're back to show you another service you should be adding to every single install that you're doing. That is this. These are Hardscape lights, so these are going to fit in underneath the caps of our fire feature, as well as our retaining wall in the back here, to really emphasize the texture of that wall at nighttime, as well as to really brighten up the space, to create a usable space for a longer period of time for your client. Landscape lighting is the most profitable point in our business, as well as the most value that we can provide our clients to be able to extend the days that they get to use this space now, along with our fire feature. Think about when you're using your backyard the most. It'll be on weeknights and evenings, and then even into the night during evenings. So if you have a space that is dark, you don't get to enjoy it as much, but with a fire feature, with landscape lighting, you're going to be able to enjoy that space longer into the evenings and without any hazards around, being able to see where you are. It's really a service that you need to be installing on every single backyard space that you are building. Here's everything we need for our landscape lighting install. We've got our transformer, we've got our lights, we've got our silicone filled morettes to be able to tie the wires together. We've got a wire stripper. We've also got our wire over here. This is going to run into our transformer through the bottom. We're going to punch out one of these holes and tie into the transformer. The rest is going to daisy chain to each individual light here.
Here's an overview of how we wire these hardscape lights together. The wire coming from the transformer and the lights will each split and will connect to one another. The next wire that will run to the second light will also split, with one side tying into one and the other side tying into the other. This allows for the current to flow to the next light, where we'll continue the same connection. At the final light, we will continue with the same steps, except there will be no additional wire running to another light.
Let me show you what I've done here. Basically, I've run this wire from the transformer through these gator-based channels underneath our fire pit, up one of these channels in here. I've got 3 wires coming into each of these morettes. I got the 2 wires coming from the transformer split, one going into one going to the other. I've got the 2 wires coming from the light, positive and negative, one going into one, other going into the other. And then continuing on with my next wire, I've got that split and one going into one going into the other, so that I can continue my run here.
Let's walk through what the installation looks like. Here we've grabbed the wire running from the first lighting fixture, and we're going to cut it to size to reach the next lighting fixture. We can then split that wire and strip it about 3/4 of an inch down, using our wire strippers and knowing the gauge of our wire to use the strippers to expose that wire. We then repeat the process for our next lighting fixture, first splitting the wire and then stripping the wires to expose them. We then take the wire that will run from the next lighting fixture that has already been split, and we connect one wire from each of these connections and spin the silicone filled moret onto it to secure a tight, waterproof connection. Before we screw on the moret, we like to ensure the copper from all of the connections have been tied and twisted together. We'll also clean up all of these wires in the end, running them through the cores of this retaining wall. Some manufacturers have varying installation techniques, so be sure to refer to the manufacturer's instructions. And now we can move on to our next lighting fixture.
Our wiring is done, so all we need to do is just grind in some channels for this wire to sit. My channels are cut. I can tuck that wire in, and now I can put the caps right on top here. Lights are centered on the fire pit. Caps go on top. This is gonna look beautiful.
You can also choose to grind out an area for the lighting fixture to sit, so that the caps can sit flush on the retaining wall or adhere the lighting fixtures to the wall.
So we've got our wire. We know it's 12 gauge, so we're gonna go to our wire stripper, 3/4 of an inch down, cut and peel off, exposing that wire there. Same thing on this side. Now we got 2 exposed wires, and one is gonna go into the common, screwdriver to tighten it. The other is going into tap 1, again, screwdriver down there to tighten that as well. We've hooked up our ground in our first tap. We've got the wire on, and there it is.
Now that one of our zones is completed, that being the fire pit, we are going to work on the next zone, which will be 5 lights along the retaining wall. With this installation, the lighting wire is going to run through the channels of the retaining wall, and with all lights installed on this zone, we can then complete the connection at the transformer.
We've got 2 connections coming in, 2 different zones. So we've got the fire pit, the retaining wall. I wanted those on 2 separate zones, so I have the wire for the fire pit split. One side goes into the common, the ground, the other side goes into the 12 volt because it's a shorter run, 4 lights, and it's close by to the transformer. The other one I split, it also goes into the ground, the common. The other one I chose to go to the 13 volt. It's a bit longer of a run. It's got 5 lights on it, so 1 more light, so it just makes sense for that one to go in the step up. I've got my transformer plugged in. We've got it plugged into the GFI outlet, and if I hit this on switch,
the transformer gets mounted in our area 12 inches above grade. Any loose wire from the connection to the GFI plug will be rolled up and tucked into the bottom of the transformer, and any exposed wire running from the transformer to the ground will be cleaned up with a piece of conduit. If there is a run of wire that goes through a garden bed or the yard, in our area it needs to be dug 6 inches below grade but does not need to be run through conduit, though you need to be using underground wiring. Hardscape lighting needs to be planned for in advance, and the wire needs to be run prior to laying pavers. This is especially important when installing steps, as the wire needs to be run underneath the steps before they are installed.
wire goes in under the step. We planned for that beforehand. We got our connections in the back coming up to the top. We notched out very slightly, just a small little notch there for each of the wires. 1, 2, 3, 4 ends here, and that's our run. Now with this lighting beautifully concealed and shining down on the texture of this wall and really emphasizing the beauty of this product, as well as shining down around this area in the nighttime, really helps to brighten up the space, make it look larger than it actually is, and also give a usable space well into the evenings when our client is most likely out here entertaining.
I hope you enjoyed this video on installing hardscape lighting. You can find more detailed information on this topic by following the links in the description. Leave any questions or comments you have below, like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to our channel for more.